Room 442 is presented by North Star Bets. That's a win.
Welcome into Room 442. Happy Monday to everyone. James Sharman joining myself, Sarah Pariah. James, we just enjoyed a long weekend. How was your long weekend?
Full of sports, I'll tell you that much. I
it.
watched so many hours of sport, including, of course, a ton of footy, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
It was a good weekend for footy, wasn't it?
Oh, it really was.
Which is now leading us to headlines. You guys know every Monday we do headlines, looking back at the weekend that was. And as James kind of just mentioned there, a lot of footy, a lot of things to pick from. I'll start, and I think we have to start here in what was the Arsenal and Liverpool match. What a fantastic match. My headline is Liverpool 2-2 Arsenal. Late Roberto Firmino leveler blows title race wide open. I mean, this game, as a non-fan of either team, was incredible.
As a fan of one of these teams, it was incredible as well. I mean, my word, what a match. And as the headline says, it really does throw the race wide open. 6 points now between City and Arsenal. City with a game in hand. They play at City in 2 weeks' time. Man, it is wide open right now. And yeah, I mean, listen, 2-2 draws. People in North America don't understand ties and draws quite so much. You can have an absolute classic. That's a draw. And that's what this match was. Had it all. Even had the linesman assaulting a footballer.
Okay, can we talk about that for a minute? I have
crazy.
it written here, but Andy Robertson getting the elbow. What is the procedure now? Are we expecting that this linesman is going to get a ban?
They're investigating. They're looking into it. I mean, listen, that linesman, by the way, was absolutely jacked.
Yeah.
Did you see him?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was a good elbow. Now, I will say this. Andy Robertson has a bit of history, right, getting in faces of officials. Like, he's screaming. And as Roy Keane said post-match on the Sky broadcast, he goes, he's being a big baby. That's what he says, like, calm down. You know, you're going to get in the officials' faces. At some point, this might happen. Remember last week we saw the Mexican referee knee the player in the Albert Vitanians?
So he got a 10-game ban.
Yeah.
From what I remember. But
this guy's in trouble.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I mean, all joking aside, when what Robbo said, who knows what he said, but you can't be doing that. You can't be having any kind of physical contact with a player.
Well, I was listening to an ESPN pod, and I can't remember who said it, but someone mentioned, imagine if this was reversed.
Yeah, exactly.
That player is done. So I think it needs to be just as severe.
Should the referee give a red card to the linesman?
To the linesman. See you later. Me and this guy will take care of it.
But it just added, right, one more layer to this crazy game, which had it all.
Well, speaking of crybabies, Granit Xhaka getting that. I mean, to me, this is when we saw a lot of the game turn. Him and Trent going at it. I get it. I think there was a foul on him at the line. It wasn't called. It's, it happens in football. But then to go at Trent and now you're going head to head. Your team is up 2-0, mind you. What are you doing?
You just lose it. And especially at that stadium, out of all the stadiums in sport, that's one that you don't want to ignite the fans because they really are the 12th man, right? I know it's a cliche, but there's something about Anfield that elevates that team when they're loud. And they've been pretty flat for much of that game at the crowd because Arsenal, to their credit, put Liverpool and the fans out of the game pretty early on. So for that stadium, it'd been pretty quiet. And then to ignite the crowd like that, it just adds so much to Liverpool. And I don't think there's any coincidence that the Reds found their game after that. It's just stupidity. We've seen Xhaka do it before, right? He has those moments of stupidity of just the mist descends upon him. And I thought he'd grown up a bit. I thought he'd matured. I thought we'd seen less of that from him. He's having a great season.
Yeah.
But that was just one of those moments where if you're Mikel Arteta, I'm sure you told the players before the match, listen, just don't get the crowd into this game. Keep them out of it, right? And then to do that must drive the manager crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the way Arsenal started this match, I messaged you saying, are we going to see, a thrashing? I thought Martinelli scores 7 minutes in. Then we see Gabby Jesus, who's been injured for most of the season. I was actually really happy to see that. It's always nice seeing an injured footballer come back and get right back in there.
Jesus rising on Easter Sunday?
Jesus, I mean, the puns were great. Twitter was loving it.
And then Mohammed scored.
Yeah, Muhammad and Jesus. That's what you tweeted, yeah?
I love
Perfect.
it.
Happy
I love
Easter. Yeah, I mean, listen, Arsenal started the game off very strong, but the second half was a different story, and this is what Mikel Arteta had to say after the match.
Then we didn't continue to play. We gave every single ball away, especially in very dangerous areas when you allowed open spaces and big transition moments against the best team in the world doing that. And when that happens, it's chaos, it's a lot of balls in your box, it's difficult to get out of those situations, and then you have to suffer. And we rely on big defensive moments where Aaron took a big part of it, and they missed the penalty. And then we could have nicked the game because we have 3 huge situations on the counter that they are overloaded or we are 2 against 2. And we miss as well that ruthlessness.
Did he just refer to Liverpool as the best team in the world?
He may have done. I think maybe allude to the fact that in that environment,
Sure.
they have proven in the last few years, but I know why you're smirking, because they're far from the best team in the world at the moment in this season, right? But he made some great points there, and Aaron Ramsdale was just immense. Those 2 saves late in the match were just world-class saves.
Saved the game for Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would have, imagine the race now, had he not made one of those saves. Amazing, right? And how Liverpool would have been, felt better, and their chase for 4th place is now done. I mean, listen, United's way too many points ahead right now, but had it all that game. I mean, that is a great advertisement for football and for the Premier League, right? It really was.
Yeah. Really quickly before we jump to the next one, are we giving Arsenal a little bit too much stick right now, considering the season they had? Because I know, listen, they got a point at Anfield at the end of the day. That's probably the toughest place to play in one of them in Europe for sure. Anyways, and they've had a fantastic season. Are we just kind of dismissing it all now because of the points?
I think it's a good point. I think we're showing that we respect this team. We think they should win the Premier League, right? They deserve it at this point. They've been the most consistent team, played the best football for much of the season, and now we're saying, man, that they've blown opportunity. They should be furious. And if you look at the big picture and you take a breath as an Arsenal fan, regardless of what happens now, you say this has been some season, because no one expected this.
Yeah.
I think most people thought they'd make progress again from last season, maybe fight for top 4, right? But to be fighting for the championship in April, I mean, no one really guessed that, I don't think, apart from the biggest blinkered Arsenal fan, right? So, we are being unfair maybe, but this is what happens at the top of the table, right? And like Arteta says, we had to suffer. And he knows, right? I mean, he's been there in the biggest games. You have to suffer to win a championship, and that was a sufferable 45 minutes, I guess. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll revisit this in a few weeks' time and say that was the moment that City won the championship. It's possible.
Oh, can you imagine? All right, well, let's move on to from the top of the table to middle of the table. Headline here from James Sharman. Top Bow, how Todd Boehly turned to TV star James Corden for advice before hiring Frank Lampard as Chelsea interim manager.
I love this one, right? And I have fun with these headlines,
Yeah.
right? And it just doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Right? The American Todd Boehly, and then James Corden was his big figure in American TV, right? He had a really successful show. I mean, listen, I'm sure Todd Boehly didn't, 100% go on the advice of James Corden, who knows Frank Lampard really well from a TV show they're in England. But the fact that you're asking a comedian about who I should hire, I mean, it just says everything about Todd Boehly and the chaos at that club at the moment. And Frank Lampard comes in 4 days on the job and they lose their first game. It's not on Frank Lampard, right? But I just found it really amusing. As unfair as headline might really be about the reality of the situation, it just kind of personifies that whole environment at Chelsea this season and just the nonsense that's happened.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Boehly never, ceases to amaze me in what he does and his actions. And every week we're talking about Chelsea, and we spoke about this last week, and you asked me if you think Chelsea is the most spoken about club that we talk about here at 442. And it just might be, because this man alone is always in the headlines.
Well, I mean, even go back to last season with 442, right? So Abramovich gets kicked out.
Yeah.
Boehly takes over. The comments he makes about the Premier League and relegation and Champions League and Super Leagues, right? And then he fires Tuchel, right? And then January happens and he fires Potter and he brings in Enzo Fernandez for a record fee for British football, right? And Mudryk comes in as well.
Yeah.
So Chelsea. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Todd Boehly. It makes our life so much easier doing these kind of shows.
All right, let's jump to your next headline. And please stay with me for this one because it's going to take a couple breaths. Dele Alli's hippie crack shame. Football star 26 is surrounded by laughing gas canisters with a balloon in his mouth as friends party with 215-pound tequila, Jamaica tonic, win, and high-strength chewing tobacco. Just show the picture. Show the picture, because this is the only thing that will help explain what we're talking about here. So this is a photo from social media, Dele Alli, the gentleman with the cap and the balloon in his mouth. As you can see, the big tequila bottle in the middle, the white and blue kind of
Something
bottle.
you know very well, apparently.
Yeah, it's a
Big
nice,
fan, aren't
it's
you?
a very fancy brand. Well, a lot of people, what they do is they keep the bottle because it's actually quite nice looking, and they use it.
Well, for 215 quid,
Yeah,
you better keep the bottle.
You might. The gas canisters, though, is what's getting me. I mean, you're having a drink, chewing tobacco, but what am I looking
It's called hippie
at?
crack, and it's, by the way, it's not illegal, right? They're looking into making it illegal, so there's nothing that Dele Alli has done here that's illegal, nothing at all. It's just that, Dele Alli, this prodigious talent who's done so well, has seen his career just hit the skids hard, right? He's hurt that right now. He's not going back on loan to Everton. He didn't make it in his previous club, Besiktas. It's just been a real fall from grace for a really talented footballer. I can't believe he's 26 years of age. He seems so much older than that, right? I hope he rediscovers love for the game because he really is an incredible footballer. But I just thought, that is a packed headline. Where do you begin, right? And I want to be in that room. It looks like a lot of fun. Don't you think?
Well, you should give Dele Alli a ring because he seems to know how to party.
He does.
All right, finally, guys, for the last headline has to be Erling Haaland. Goal machine Erling Haaland has more Premier League goals this season than Chelsea's
And there's
entire
Chelsea again.
team. I know, they're squeezing right back in. That's right,
That's
though.
amazing, though.
Chelsea, 29 goals this season. Mr. Haaland, 30 goals in 27 matches. James, this guy doesn't stop. And let's talk about the goal over the weekend really quick. Man City beat Southampton 4-1. Little bicycle scissor
Amazing,
in the air. I mean, like the athleticism with him. He so much reminds me of Ibrahimovic in the stature,
in his stature, right?
And the way they go for these, really gutsy goals. You're never going to know if you can do it unless you try. And if you miss, it's going to come back and bite you. But they're so athletic. These guys just don't.
44 goals overall this season, right?
Mental.
And you make the Ibra comparison, which is perfect, but did you hear Pep's comments this week as well?
So I have it here.
Okay.
Pep says Haaland is similar to Ronaldo in terms of scoring goals, but Messi is a more complete player and can play anywhere, while Haaland and Ronaldo are machines. I think the bigger picture here is that Haaland is being compared to Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, and he said earlier, that, listen, Haaland's as good as Messi, right?
Yeah.
In front of goal, right?
Yeah.
And people jumped in that saying, oh, he's thinking, he's as good as Messi, which is why he then, commented there. He's not saying he's as good as Messi.
Yeah.
They are a little bit different, the players, in stature and ability, and so is Ronaldo, and let's not compare them.
Yeah.
But in front of goal,
Sure.
I can't remember seeing a guy this prolific. Well, obviously I can't because he's going to smash the record in English football. He's just absolutely incredible what he does. And like you said, he's the biggest guy on the pitch. He's the quickest guy in the pitch.
Yeah.
He's the strongest guy in the pitch. Scores with his head, both feet. He's just amazing. The runs. He might only get 6 touches a game, but he'll score a hat-trick.
Yeah, interesting footballer. Doesn't have, the sauce, the technique that you would see
sauce,
from...
I like that.
Yeah,
Exactly,
he doesn't. When you watch him play, it's kind of like awkward and strange, but he gets the job done.
Yeah.
And he's more efficient than anyone else in the league, in all of the top leagues right now. I think what'll be interesting, though, is to see whether or not he stays at this level. Nothing is telling me he won't, but in order, to be on a certain level of the Messi and Ronaldo, and we have to see this continue.
Will Pep change him and coach him? I'm sure he will. He's 22, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's very young.
Yeah, he's super young.
Will he have to at some point sacrifice some goals to become a more complete player? Is that what Pep will do? I don't know. Do you want to sacrifice any goals? This guy could be scoring 40 goals in the Premier League this year, possibly. It's possible. That's obscene. It's obscene anyway at this point, what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
I would keep him just the way he is, but Pep knows a bit more about football than me, so I'm sure he's got some ideas. A little bit, yeah.
Well, let's see if Erling Haaland gets on the score sheet on Tuesday, because we are heading in to the Champions League quarterfinals. I am so excited. This is what we're looking at this week. Tuesday, we have Manchester City welcoming Bayern Munich, blockbuster match, as well as Benfica and Inter Milan. Wednesday's match is Real Madrid and Chelsea and AC Milan and Napoli. James, Man City and Bayern Munich has to be the match of the quarterfinals. Everyone I've spoken to does not have a clue how this game is going to go. A lot of people may say Bayern, but just as many are saying City, and then several people, including myself, are saying, I have not a clue what the heck is going to happen.
I think that's important. That's a mix. I'm the same. I haven't got a clue either.
Yeah.
Listen, Bayern Munich on their day can win any game on the planet, right? As can City. City's under more pressure, I would say, because they have to win in Europe at some point under Pep. Bayern's won recently in Europe, and listen, they're in a dogfight right now for the Bundesliga title, under a new manager in Thomas Tuchel, who knows Man City really, really well. So they've got a lot to play for, of course. Coming off, of course, a loss last week in the DFB Pokal. That's right? Yeah, that's right. Such a ridiculous name. Obviously did better on the weekend. Still, just ahead of Borussia Dortmund in the title there. Whereas, City were superb this weekend. We know that they've been superb for a few weeks. It seems they're really hitting their form at the right time. Man City. So I think I'm gonna pick City to take Bayern over 2 legs.
Okay.
But really, I mean, my God, it could go either way.
It's a pick-em.
It really is, yeah.
Well, the first match is at the Etihad, so they will have the home advantage. And Erling Haaland is back from injury, and I say that because, do we think he was injured? I'm not too sure. Misses international break. But good call from Pep if that was the case. I think the thing is with these two teams as well is that they're so similar in that they're both quite deep, and they're both very kind of aggressive and very physical teams. They both have massive players on their side as well as, little guys in the middle like a Kevin De Bruyne and whatnot.
But Bayern are missing Lewandowski this year. Let's be honest, right? We thought they would, of course. Now, I know he struggled a bit recently for Barcelona, but as much as they're doing really well in Germany and this Bayern, they always do well, they haven't replaced him, know? It's just isn't the same without him. So they haven't quite got that clinical edge.
But everyone's kind of scoring when they need to. They don't have that one striker anymore. Right. But they a lot of players are getting, on the scoreboard here. I am, I'm not sure who's going to go through. I will say I'll back City to win the first match, but anything can happen. Really quickly, let's show some love to Benfica and Inter. I am going Benfica all the way. It's at home. Estadio Dragão. They have been insane at home. Incredible
season, right?
Yeah.
Although they lost to Porto on the weekend, they're big rivals. Their second loss, I think, domestically in the legal season. That's just crazy. Inter Milan are struggling right now, unbeaten, so winless in 7 games, I believe. Lost in the weekend.
In City,
it's not going right. They're playing plus Porto's. Sorry, whereas Benfica's at plus 112. Inter's at plus 270 on the road. So plus money from Benfica at home. I'm all over that.
Yeah, take it. I also think that Inter didn't really deserve to be here. They kind of just slipped through. Their football has been not fun to watch. They played Tottenham, who we know is... Oh, no, they didn't play Tottenham. AC Milan played Tottenham.
Yeah, right.
Who did Inter play? Brugge?
Yes.
That sounds right.
That sounds about right, yeah. Brugge had a lot of issues. Let's check it out, shall we? But I'm pretty sure you're right there.
But no, the way they've been playing, it's not good football. There's, some sort of... Lautaro Martinez might be coming into form, but he's kind of the only one. Lukaku getting red carded recently. I don't know. There's a lot going on with this team, and it's not enjoyable to watch. And I think from a fan's perspective, I just don't want to see them go through because Benfica are going to give me much better football to watch and much more entertainment.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right there. Benfica are the team that no one's talking about, right? And it's because they are one of those teams that are going to be dismissed when they play a legitimate contender in the next round if they get past Inter Milan, which is unfair because I don't know if there's been a team more consistent in Europe than Benfica this year. Look at their record. Yeah. Aside from the Porto loss on the weekend and at home, the Dragão, one of the great stadiums in world football, almost impenetrable. So yeah, I'm taking Benfica in that one.
And then we could potentially see Benfica Napoli in the semifinals.
Watch out.
All right, guys. Well, the Champions League is back, and we are so excited about that. Tomorrow we'll be talking everything: Real Madrid, Chelsea, AC Milan, and Napoli.
Room 442 is presented by North Star Bets. That's a win.